Right now, we're going to discuss the third category of motivational theories, the regulation theories of motivation. And I'll tell you, self-regulation is the thing that I do the majority of my research around. So I will have to give you a little bit of my research here. You know, you're spared most of my research because most of my research doesn't exactly relate to IO Psych, but here it is. So you're going to get some of it here. Okay. So self-regulation essentially is the idea that we have reflexive, instinctive things that we want to do, things that feel good. And what happens is we need to be able to regulate ourselves. We need to be able to stop those things that are instinctive, reflexive, or things that we want to do. You know, you're sleeping and you got a good dream going and the alarm rings in the morning, and do you hit the snooze button? Because it takes self-regulation to do the hard thing, which is to say, okay, I'm done now, I'm getting up, I'm getting out of bed. So self-regulation is a thing that allows us to do things that we don't want to do. But at the same time, self-regulation allows us to achieve larger goals. And so as you can see, goal-setting theory is one of the regulation theories of motivation, but so are these others. So when it comes to regulatory ability, your ability to self-regulate is a function of something that Roy Baumeister refers to as willpower. Now, willpower is sometimes also referred to as ego strength. And if you remember your Sigmund Freud for just a brief moment, when you're born with an id. And the id is the gimme, gimme, gimme. The things that feel good at the moment. The things that you want to do. The reflexes that you are at your core. And it is later as a child develops that they develop the second part of their personality, the ego. And the ego's job is to regulate the impulsive nature of the id. You know, give me now, okay? Give me the fun thing now. And so if you have a strong ego, it will do a good job regulating the id, okay? And so we often refer to this willpower as ego strength. And willpower is envisioned, and a lot of research backs this up. It's like a muscle that if we exercise it a lot, it gets stronger. Muscles get stronger with lots of exercise. But just like with muscles, a lot of exercise fatigues them in the short term, right? If you use them a lot for a short time, you're fatigued. And this willpower or muscle requires actual physical energy. And there have been a variety of studies, some somewhat controversial, but it turns out that blood glucose, or sugar in the blood, seems to be related to somebody's current state of willpower or their ego strength. Okay? So the way that I envision this, and I've done a lot of research in a lot of different areas, and the way I envision willpower is that when you are born, genetics gives you some baseline level. So I'll just set an arbitrary baseline level, okay? But then across your life, okay, your parents' job or your teacher's job is to force you to exercise your willpower, force you to exercise, all right? You want a cookie, Johnny? Okay, you can have the cookie, but first we're going to have to go clean up your room, okay? So mom and dad's job is to give you lots of practice and exercise with this willpower. And by doing so, should give you a much higher baseline level, okay? A point from which to go from. But then what happens is your willpower is going to decrease if you're under a lot of stress or you're fatigued. When I say fatigued, I mean like new baby tired, not I didn't get enough sleep last night tired. So stress and fatigue can drop this level, and therefore you have a new baseline on these temporary situations, but somewhat long-term temporary situations. At the same time, much more localized temporary situations can be involved too. That is, how tired are you at this moment? How hungry are you at this moment? Okay? But on the opposite side, we can also raise willpower in this temporary way based on blood glucose or vigilance. You know, you're really paying attention to something. So there are situations here, so it's a combination of nature and nurture, and some of it is long-term changes, and some of it is mid-term changes, and some of it is temporary changes. Okay? So if you put all of these things together, it will determine how strong your willpower is. So why is willpower important? Well, yeah, leave that alone. Why is willpower important? Because it's required in order for us to fulfill our goals. Okay, because fulfilling a goal is a lot of. My goal is to graduate college. Yeah, you've set yourself something that requires a good bit of regulatory ability. Okay, so in goal-setting theory of motivation, the idea is a goal is a motivational force. And it turns out that if an individual sets a very specific goal, which is difficult but achievable, then they perform much better than other people that do not set goals. So goal setting has been shown to not just, increase your motivation, but also to lead to better job performance. Okay? So goals can affect behavior by directing us, by mobilizing us, enabling. In other words, you could take these lines and go back to motivation and what defined motivation, and there's your answer. Okay? And so goal-setting theory is sort of envisioned in this way, that we will have goal commitment. That is, of the larger goal, how much have you internalized? How much have you owned? The ownership you take on achieving your goal. Goal acceptance, on the other hand, is the degree to which you're going to perform a goal, but it's because somebody gave it to you, not because you really believe in it. Okay? And so now we've got goal commitment and goal acceptance, and we put them together. We combine that with the direction, the intensity, the persistence, the strategies that are used, put these all together, and these will influence job performance. Okay? But job performance, or this relationship between the red box and the brown box, is going to be mediated, moderated, mediated, one or the other, okay? Going to be mediated by how specific is the goal. The more specific, the more influence it has on performance. And what ability do you have? We already have seen this 5, 6, 7 times. Motivation plus ability equals performance, okay? And so now your performance will lead to knowledge of results. And knowledge of results, and we talked about this earlier, but it's the fancy word that's often used in IO psychology as a stand-in for feedback. That is, how much do you know about what you did? I mean, because it's like if you're working on an assembly line and you're just madly creating products, at the end of the hour, do you remember how many you created? Did you do better than the last time? Knowledge of results is feedback. In the first hour, you made this many. In the second hour, you made this many. So, something like this. And so this feedback will then go back in, and this knowledge of results will influence the direction and intensity of the motivation, which then comes back on performance. Control theory is a little bit different, but this is it's a comparator mechanism. That what's going to happen is we're going to have a standard. Okay? That is to say, I set a goal to produce 100 units per hour. That's the standard that you have set for yourself. Okay? Then what you're going to do is you're going to compare yourself and say, my current state is I'm producing 80 units per hour. The standard is 100, I'm producing 80. So I will then perform my behavior, all right, and I will be given feedback. Oh, you're making 85 units per hour. I'm making 85. I want 100. Feeds back into the behavior. And so your behavior will continue to change as long as the standard and the feedback don't match each other. Okay? So some of the research on goal setting theory, that people do use goals in their daily life on a regular basis. I use goals all the time. Like, so, say, for example, one of the goals I have is to record 1 module worth of lectures each and every day in this summer session. Okay? So that's a goal I set for myself to accomplish a much larger task of recording all the IO psychology lectures. Okay. And so we can seek feedback, blah, 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 constructive, okay, whatever. I think you get the idea, is that we need willpower in order to achieve goals. Huh?